All right. What's going on, gentlemen?
How's it going, bro?
Good. How you doing, Silas?
Yeah, I'm doing well, man.
What about you, Regan?
I'm doing great. Thanksgiving, right? This would be like the biggest bar night of the year in the States.
Used to be, at least.
Used to be, at least. I'd still rather be doing this regardless.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's not anymore, I don't think. I totally forgot tomorrow was even Thanksgiving. Which is pretty, I mean, that's what happens after 4 years of lockdown.
I had no idea to begin with. We don't have a lot to be thankful for over here, so I think it's something to do with the weather.
Well, what are you guys doing out there? Are the girls doing like Witches' Night or something like that? And like some sort of leftist thing?
We have the 5th of November, and then, yeah, that's pretty much it to Christmas.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So you guys burn your Irish flags out there? Or the lefties burning all the Irish flags?
Well, there used to be, the burning of the bonfire, but that's pretty much gone now. It's now just usually fireworks and that, but to be honest, I'd much prefer Thanksgiving. At least you get a feast with that,
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, Thanksgiving was cool when football and stuff like that were more, they felt more organic. I'm sure Reagan feels the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Rio, so good to see you. Ronan's in the chat. So, Silas, do you want to start us on Project Pegasus or the Pegasus, or I should say not Project Pegasus because there's multiple, the Pegasus exercise, since you're the one who sent this over first yesterday. I'm not sure if, how much, Reagan, you looked into this so far.
All the stuff that we were chatting about.
Yeah, like basically what we were talking about earlier is as far as I got into it. So
it's a UK based simulation or drill, and so it states here, Exercise Pegasus. Exercise Pegasus. It's quite late here. Exercise Pegasus is a Tier 1 national level simulation designed to test the UK's full-scale pandemic response system. It is being coordinated by the Department of Health and Social Care, the UK Health Security Agency, in collaboration with NHS England, devolved administrations, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and multiple government departments. It simulates a hypothetical novel respiratory pathogen outbreak, evaluating preparedness, command structures, crisis coordination, and communication. The simulation dates, core sessions ran on the 18th of September 2025, the 9th of October 2025, the 30th of October 2025, and there's a fourth phase focused on recovery, which is planned for 2026. Now, interestingly, the data from all of this comes out next year. I believe it's actually a year to the date of the last phase or simulation date on the 30th of October. So it basically covers all UK government departments, devolved administrations, local resilience forums, NHS bodies and leadership. That's our sort of medical system, our socialised medical system. Social care providers, local authorities, emergency services, and community stakeholders. There's also drills going on in schools, certain schools secretively. And there's headlines that have came out about that as of late. So it's been about a month since this began. The stated objectives, it's to test surge capacity, supposedly in healthcare and social care.
And Silas, do you want to share screen, by the way, while you're reading?
Yeah, sure.
Just so other people can read along in case they're kind of lost to what we're even talking about. Because this was new to me. I didn't even hear about this till you told me.
I actually only learned about it a few days ago. It was something I This had been reported back in July. The NHS were, announcing it essentially, and yeah, I totally missed it. Something I didn't quite see.
Well, it's crazy how many different Project Pegasus type operations I feel like they've had too. So it doesn't help. Here we go. How's that? Good?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so it basically covers the entire system. So this is, as I stated, a tier 1 exercise. It investigates pretty much the entire capacity of the system to deal with a pandemic that, well, it's a respiratory pandemic, a hypothetical drill, but it primarily is targeting, in this simulation, children. As just as Bill Gates stated, I think it was last year or the year prior, he mentioned that the next one will get their attention, and then he also mentioned as well that it'll affect children next time. And again, he's stating these things as though they're, he has a crystal ball. He's looking through the looking glass itself. Of course, it's all completely planned. This is all the pre-programming of the script, the predictive programming, social priming, and of course as well, this exercise Pegasus is also been nationally orchestrated by Cobra, which is effective. It's the Cabinet Office briefing rooms activation. That's what it means. But obviously, the Cobra is quite esoterically linked as well and charged. But it's similar to, I guess you would, like a presidential emergency a committee. That's what it's like. That's what Cobra is.
What a name.
Yeah.
What a name. So what is the basically how many kiddos are they saying this would affect?
We don't know that just as of yet. That comes out next year. But yeah, I can imagine it's probably it will be a similar I guess lethality scope in terms of the death, the casualties, the surge capacity, all of that. It will be similar to obviously what we went through in the 2020 event. Well, I say, what is narratively supposed to have happened in 2020. Of course, a lot of it was just completely hogwash. They were, a media circus, if you will, But yeah, it will be similar to that, I can imagine. And the reason they're choosing children this time is narratively, children have more staying power, if you will, in terms of persuading individuals into, firstly, a mass formation psychosis mentality, and then secondly, to obviously take the needle crafts, the magical elixirs. People become far more protective over their children compared to, say, their gran or their, the elderly. Children, of course, have their entire life ahead of them. And of course, if they're of your blood, then there's even more staying power there in terms of forcing others and forcing your immediate family and even, for yourself to be persuaded to take the magical elixir that comes along from this. So that's probably the reason why they've chosen children this time. And yeah, I can imagine this pandemic response will be replicated throughout the world, the USA, Canada, the continent of Europe, the countries there, probably Mexico and other places as well. They appear to be gearing up to something, that this is definitely predictive programming. That's what it looks like to me, at least.
Do you think they'll actually do it, both of you? I have a feeling that they keep doing this now with these exercises after 201, and it just isn't. Nothing has come to fruition.
I think they're psychologically gauging with each of these exercises, but I don't think it's not quite like the whole Corona 2020 event. That was something that had really never happened before, in terms of the shock and awe tactics that they used, both with the media and the implied legal authority that they were given under the Emergency Authorization Acts. I don't think they're going to be able to pull it off right away. I think they may have to wait a little bit longer, but eventually, I think they're going to reiterate, to repeat this what occurred in 2020. Why? Because it permits them so much room, legislative room, and also flexibility to push their agenda at an ever more accelerated pace, simply because people are in that state of war. But the great thing is of course the pandemic, yes, is like a state of war, but the enemy is a phantom. The enemy is completely invisible, and it's a very versatile enemy and villain. It can be, effectively changed on a dime. It can be, narratively morphed to whatever shape or whatever narrative or agenda it needs to that suits, right, or is required. So yeah, I think eventually they will pull another one of these pandemics.
What do you think, Reagan?
I would say I agree with most of that. I think you have so many delusions at the higher levels, though, that you're going to get a bunch of people who are going to push things ahead of schedule, and that happens already. I think you have a couple of mistakes here and there. So I see it being pushed out regardless, just like any stage performer. The show must go on. So even with little back steps or minute, setbacks, I think it'll ultimately unfold at some point. Could be, a couple of years, or it could be a year.
I could see it happening maybe out right now, at least in the UK or Ireland or Scotland area, like England, Scotland, Ireland, these areas in the UK, and maybe Australia. I don't see it happening here for a little while, maybe 5-10 years, because I think people we're just too spread out, and people are a lot of people are over it. But that's, I think the reason the first one went so well was because of what Silas was saying. Like, it was so different than anything we've seen in our lifetimes. It was almost like the way I think Crowley would describe actually this sometimes about the use of a magical incantation. It's like the longer you don't say it, the more power it has, as long as you're the only one who knows this incantation that you made up. So if you saved up the energy until, like, say, the last moment of your life and said that incantation, the power that incantation would effectively be way more than had you been repeating it every single day. And I feel like that's kind of what coronavirus was. It was like a huge buildup of tension behind it that no one knew, and no one really knew what to expect when it started. And it was that incantation that they got one use of in our lifetime. And now they're going to have to wait a little while if they want to try that stuff again.
It's interesting as well. Somebody brought it up in the chat that this Pegasus exercise, the narrative is that this hypothetical respiratory virus, it originates in Southeast Asia, so they're using Asia again, right? The reason for that is, of course, it permits them to basically play upon these racialist views, right, that some would have, both in the West and other parts of the world, regarding Asia and, well, for example, what they may eat or may not eat, right? You had the bat soup nonsense from 2020. So it plays upon this sort of exotic, mysterious characteristic of Asia that the Westerners have always had. And of course the rest of the world as well, right? All those west of Asia. Interestingly as well is that, so it's Musiana. Now, Musiana, this fictional place in Southeast Asia where this virus originated, this Pegasus virus, let's just call it that. Now, the Latin word mus, obviously the same as our mouse, where we get the word mouse from, that could link to Calhoun's mouse experiment. Look into that; it's quite interesting. It perhaps links with our, I guess you could call it our social petri dish, as we live in it at present. But Musia, also from the Kannada language of India, Musia means the common langur. It's a type of monkey, and interestingly, the monkey as a symbol, especially within alchemy, has always been seen as the bestial part of man. It's this bestial lower essence that is man. And that's what it's always been portrayed as within alchemical symbolism, for example. You see it on the Splendor Solace. It's also found in other alchemical tomes. So you get this sort of, they're almost trolling or poking fun at who they see as the profane, which is, of course, the vast majority of us, right? So you have all of these little things as well. Pegasus we'll get into later on, but that has mythological connections. It has connections to Kabbalistic eschatology. It has connections to... by the way, there's other operations and exercises that the UK government have also carried out. You had Exercise Cygnus. So again, Pegasus and Cygnus, both of those are based on constellations. Cygnus also has symbolic connotations as well. It's the swan. And then you have, for example, in 2016, you had Exercise Alice, which was a forerunner of Event 201. And it was, again, another hypothetical simulation or drill that was simulating a SARS-CoV virus and outbreak, interestingly enough, right? Operation, or Exercise Alice, rather. Alice is obviously relating to Alice in Wonderland, or Alice through the Looking Glass. So all of these things have connotations too.
It's interesting how all of the Looking Glass stuff is coming back up now that the World Fair, all that World Fair advertising's come out with Looking Glass on the Ingersoll Lockwood site.
Oh yeah, and that also links, by the way, with a rumored. I mean, I don't know if it's. I've not seen anything to prove it, but it's a rumored operation or piece of technology, I think is the better word to describe it, of the US government. So basically, this Looking Glass technology, I guess, as it's described through some form of quantum mechanics or something, it permits them to essentially, look at every single cause and every single effect, and to map out every potential causal chain, if you will. Mm-hmm. And thus it permits them to meander and to move around freely through this agenda without any sort of resistance or
But the story was that once we reached 2012, they couldn't read past the timeline, right? If I'm remembering the Project Camelot narrative correctly, which I think they admitted they made all that up, but or at least that the Carrie Cassidy are conned. I mean, I never watched them too much, but I don't know if Regan knows better. He might know better than me on all that stuff.
Ooh, which stuff exactly?
That Looking Glass Project Camelot stuff. Wasn't it eventually she admitted she was conned? I don't know what was the status of the Looking Glass portion of it.
Which creator are you referencing?
Who came out? It was like that
Janet Osborne.
Carrie Cassidy was the one who interviewed the soldier-looking guy who said they had the Project Looking Glass cubes that would eventually.
Okay. Sorry, I have to go way back for this.
Yeah, that's a while back, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, because I read most of those stories back in 2008, 2009. It was a part of a series that can be easily found on Amazon or anywhere else.
It's still up.
Project Blue Book is the over-encompassing title for it, because Project Looking Glass is one of the 36 books in the series. There's also Project Blue Book itself, Yellow Book, Red Book, travels to planet Sicario or Serpico. There's hundreds of underground versions. I think one book just is about where the locations of all the known underground bunkers are. But yeah, no, it's a very long, it was sold as like a truthful but fictional series that, lots of whistleblowers were able to get things out. Each book is a whistleblower of some sort that can't be identified. That's an three-letter organization member or related, or it's a reporter. But Project Looking Glass, I think, is most emphasized in the book Project Yellow Book. Project Yellow Book is like Project Looking Glass. And so supposedly within this story, right, and that's how I speak about all these things. They're all just stories to me. In this story, top secret military installation somewhere, they recovered, all these different artifacts all over the world. There's hundreds of these stories. But in this particular one, I think it has to do more with like your Area 51. They had all these different colored books that they supposedly received from our alien contacts and the Galactic Federation and all these other crazy stories you hear. And so the Yellow Book isn't even a book. It's actually like a cube. So it's a 6-sided yellow cube. And if you want to read this book, you have to grab the cube. The problem, though, is that when you grab this cube, supposedly, it's kind of like your whole world around you is morphed, kind of like you're entering your own mind. And the book reads to you in like a completely
Harry Potter sort of way.
I mean, you're rendered into the reality, right? So it's like it takes your eyeballs out into this reality, and you're like watching creation from the beginning.
So it's more like a 3-body problem sort of thing.
Yeah,
like the show when they put the goggles on.
So it's just like that, very similar. So, and this is all like described in the book, right? I've never seen any of this stuff. This is just how they kind of lay it out from my perspective. So they grab this thing, you start reading this book, right? Or it kind of reads to you, essentially. And really, or the problem with it is it always starts from the beginning. So once you set this thing down, it'll stop, but it doesn't like bookmark where you were. You pick it back up, you start right back at the start again. So it's bringing you through all of creation, supposedly, right? So regardless if it's 100,000 years or 4.5 billion years or whatever, it's such a ridiculous amount of time. Like, you have to sit there and watch it the whole time. So they have, like, in the book, it goes on to describe that there's multiple scientists, military personnel, all sorts of people who attempted to, like, read this. How would you say it? Cover to cover, even though it's not like a real book.
But I assume they'd have to have like a secondary scribe there with them to mark down every move they made while they're going through this thing, right? If they're making choices.
I don't think they're moving. So it's like, if you're observing this person reading the yellow book, like, they pick up the cube, you don't see anything. It's only the person who's interacting with the cube. And I don't know all the specifics, right? Yeah. So it's only the person who's actually in contact with the yellow book who can read it at the time. So everyone else in the room is completely oblivious to what that person's seeing. They have no idea. And that's what I'm saying. That's the problem. It's a book that can only be read by one person at one time, starting from the beginning and going until nobody knows, because they haven't been able to sit there long enough. You're going to die of starvation or lack of water.
Well, and with these books, was that the same? The yellow cube the same as the other ones, where it would stop at a certain point, or
no? They're all different.
Okay.
Yellow cube is the only one that's like that. The red book supposedly is just actually a red book that was given by whatever group to whatever other group. All the other books are just books and files and pictures and etc. The yellow book was the only one I came across that had this very odd. It's actually a cube. It's not even a book. And it literally is like, they say throughout it the entire time that the main title of the program is Project Looking Glass. That's what the yellow book is called, Project Looking Glass. Because this thing is supposedly supposed to tell you everything that has happened from the beginning of creation until whenever this cycle is supposed to end. But the problem is, you would have to sit there and read it for God knows how long. Could be months, for all you know. Like, the longest that it said in the book somebody went was like a day and a half. And I assume you don't just have the problem of, like, you're not eating and drinking this whole time, or going to the bathroom, and all those things. It's a military site. Everybody could use their imagination and assume, okay, they can get bedpans, they can hook them up with feeders. I'm sure they did it all. But now you have to think about how much energy is being consumed out of your body with this type of engagement. You understand it takes a lot of energy just to read a book. Like, it really does. If you're really going to think, and you're comprehending, and you're reading, you're doing all these, even watching a movie, you're still using energy to discern and to think, and you're always breathing, your heart's beating, all these other things. So when you're engulfed into this, cube story that's going on, how much, your phone dies pretty quick if you're streaming a bunch of videos on it. But if you're just running normal reading apps on it, battery could go on for days, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, little insight into the whole Project Planet Blue Book and Looking Glass, and Pegasus, and a lot of these other names come up quite a bit, just not only in that series, but among a lot of other whistleblowers and conspiracy theorists and many other realms.
Well, and there was a whole other operation that started in 2025. I think you went to bed last night, Silas, and I had missed you, but I was messaging, or you might have caught the beginning of it, but I was messaging with Regan too about this other project, Pegasus, being done by the first Cavalry unit?
Yeah.
Or first Cavalry Division?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, let's see if I could share some of the imagery from that really quick.
Yeah, they got like the watchdog logos everywhere. It's a yellow shield with a black hash mark going through it, and a watchdog over it.
Yeah.
They have like S7 is everywhere, which is like your Transformers Sector 7.
And what they said they were doing here, I'm trying to find the goddamn.
The images.
I don't want to play that video, but here we go. This article's good. I'll share this. Okay, so Army. This is off White House .gov, I think, or war.gov now. So yeah, war.gov. But I believe it's connected to the White House official website. This says Army's 1st Cavalry Division conducts first Switchblade 600 live fire exercise. And essentially what they did is they went out and they used these these look really old school looking tubes to launch UAVs, unmanned aircrafts. And what it sounds like is that these drones were actually, what were they calling them? Javelins. So it sounds like they're like Tomahawk missiles or like rods of God type things. Just like massive pieces of metal that they would be shooting into something like a javelin.
That is interesting because the Pegasus idea as well, basically what it's relating to, and I posted some things to you there, Chris. Just some videos. I think I think one of them is on the looking glass technology, but it's related to the armillary sphere. You also find that in the book of Ezekiel with the Ophanim, or the wheels within wheels, and they had eyes that encompassed them as well. It went round the rims of those wheels. All of those things are metaphor probably for forces that are incomprehensible to man as we know of time and of the manifestable world. But the Pegasus idea is effectively, we'll get into the mythology of it, and I had to look up the mythology because quite frankly I'd totally forgotten about it. But effectively it's the idea that man must ascend to the heavens. If you think of man as the horse, and this is how Kabbalah views man, as the horse which pulls the chariot of the gods, and who pulls the wheels of that chariot more precisely. Again, the wheel is that of the heavens, the earth, the sun and the moon, the entire clockwork cycle of time itself.
And Saz, is there a particular one you want me to share right now out of the ones you sent?
Yeah, if you share the one with Trump, and he's with another individual, and he's looking at this, I think it's the World Cup armillary sphere. It's that video.
Well, that's weird. That's so interesting that you're bringing up the World Cup after we were just talking about that on Ronan's last show.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely fascinating. They brought out this this logo. Well, this not logo, but design.
I think it's this one. Let me make sure. Video 2025-09. God damn, that's annoying. Here, I need to rename this. Hold on a second.
But ultimately, this is similar to the toroid as well. The figure of the toroid, the figure of the spiral, even the figure of the phonograph, the symbol of the phonograph.
This one?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Should I leave the volume off? Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
Oh yeah, I remember.
So when you're looking at this, think of the tower and the Tower of Babel and how the tower fell. And effectively, it appears to be a sort of metaphor for time itself and the cycles, the epochal cycles. The wave that rises must, of course, it can never hold, it must fall. It's this idea that's really inbuilt into Kabbalah itself. I mean, we'll get into the 6-7 meme, but basically the 6-7 meme is this notion of the transition between the year 6000 and the year 7000, where the heavens and earth are reset according to the Zohar.
See this device right here. What is this called again? This not that
armillary
one.
sphere.
Not that one. The one that will spin and then tip eventually. Like there's a magnet.
Oh, the gyroscope.
Gyroscope. That's the only time Ken Wheeler at the Aurea Apotheosis on YouTube has ever mentioned the polar shift. Like he cryptically played with a gyroscope and showed how it flipped eventually. That's the only time he ever said anything about the polar flip.
Interesting. Yeah, it's the gyroscope is another interesting device, symbolically anyway, and yeah, you even see it. So there, you're seeing it there. The world egg. You previously you saw the 3-dimensional Sephiroth. So the Sephiroth is not a 2-dimensional thing; it's a 3-dimensional form, hidden within the the orthographic projection, which is the 2-dimensional projection. Effectively, what it is it's the apple of Eden, the toroid, the armillary sphere. They're all the same. Effectively, what it's discussing or attempting to convey through symbolism is the ineffable. There's Alice, as you can see Alice through the looking glass. I think that's from a.
I just slowed it down a little bit if it helps.
Yeah. So effectively, what it's getting at is this epochal, cyclical, recursive structure of history, and moreover as well, if you can understand this, the timelines, if you will, the spiral structure of time, if you can then create a machine that can measure that and map it. Operation Stargate, anyone, right? Trump and his AI pet project. I think they've how many trillions have they put into that? I forget now. Anyway, this is what they're developing, and the social priming within pop culture has been indicating this for the past, well, probably 40 years or so, and effectively, they want to create the Tower of Babel again. It says in the Zohar that they shall erect that tower once more, and it shall never again fall as it did, and it shall stand as a tower strong, and and then it links it to Hashem. But effectively, what it's relating to is this notion that they will ascend to heaven again, like the Pegasus. The horse will grow wings, and the wings will carry the horse or man to heaven. He will ascend to heaven. This is Jacob's ladder, similar to that,
Phoenix.
right? The phoenix as well. There's a Kabbalistic prophecy in the Zohar as well. It appears in another exegetical work. I think it appears in a work of Maimonides as well, of the black phoenix. And the black phoenix will rise to heaven to thus make its nest among the stars. This is what Apollo was about as well. And I had absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It's this notion that even Nixon mentioned that the heavens have become part of man's world. So Kabbalah knows this as the Tikkun Olam, the rectification of the world, but fundamentally it's a rectification of man, because their belief is that man is the world, that man repairs God through this technology. And that by man repairing God, man, of course, subsequently becomes God. Because to repair God, you have to thus subordinate God to yourself. A monkey can't repair a wound upon man, right? If you will. You have to, for something to repair something else, it always has to be in the subordinate position. So it's this notion you see throughout Kabbalah, and then eventually this leads to the primordial man, the Adam Kadmon. And the Adam Kadmon is man without any constraints, man with, pre-fall, if you will, right? So it's effectively, Maimonides mentions this, and I forget the work now. I'll have to look it up. It's skipped my mind. But he mentions in this work that you should never tell the profane about the secrets of Bereshit, which is Genesis. And basically, the secrets of Genesis is that man became God. Because remember, man ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. But prior to that, he was already eaten from the tree of life, right? So the belief is, exegetically within the Kabbalah, is that man is effectively God. And and God is dead. That's why you see the Kabbalistic tree of life deconstructs itself. The world grows from the canopy of the tree, the crown of the tree, the keter, downwards to the roots. So effectively, the belief is in Kabbalah is God has deconstructed himself to create man, and man must then reconstruct the Tower of Babel, reconstruct God through, of course, deifying himself through technology. So this is what the Pegasus is relating to. All of this. This is why, of course, Israel has the spyware called Pegasus. It's why the cavalry, the first cavalry, have a Pegasus charge. You know.
You see this?
Yeah.
Every time I see this image, and with the heart, I'm like, that's the lamb. That's the bottom of lamb, and the heart is like the head. There's something there. I don't know why, but this is this 100% to me.
Oh yeah. It's
no, I don't know what to make of that at this point. Yeah, I mean that's something Crowley always talked about the egg. It's just something I keep seeing now.
The cosmic egg. Joke. Yeah.
But apparently there was something else that came up with time travel in Crowley too. So I guess you can kind of relate it to Pegasus because the Tannhauser's gate, which I brought up a few times, I think, with you guys, trying to figure out what does this hide tanning profession have to do with time travel. And I still haven't made that connection, but for some reason the word Tannhaus or Tannhauser comes up throughout culture and all of these films and television shows in reference to time travel.
Yeah, that's the Tanner man. Tanner. So the Tan Man, the Red Man.
Good call.
Yeah. No, I know it's. I know this from like a weird way. Detroit local guy, Tim Allen. It's in his name. If you condense it, Tan. He's the Tanner Man. Was like a big joke about it.
Oh yeah.
But it's the Red Man.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Red Man's like a huge type of chewing tobacco in the United States, promoted by the MLB. That's so it has all to do with time travel. So like tanning hides and all that kind of stuff. You got your Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Like when I first started looking into it, I think it was because of I started watching Dark on Netflix, and the guy who had done the time travel, his name was Tannhaus, his last name, who had created the machine. And then I remembered that I think it was the first Blade Runner. It might have been, which was it, Blade Runner or Apocalypse Now? What's the one where Marlon Brando, I think it's Brando, is it Brando giving the speech about tears in the rain?
Oh no, it's not.
Not Brando.
Yeah, it's Blade Runner. It's oh god, what's his name? Oh, somebody help me in the comments.
Very famous.
Yeah, God, I can't believe I forgot his name.
Hold
on, I have to check it.
Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford's in it. He's the one being spoken. He's the one being spoken to.
Rutger Hauer is the individual who mentioned about the tears in the rain.
Yeah. So he mentioned they let him improv that scene, and he mentions tears in the rain, blah 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 blah, and something about Tannhauser's gate, and there was no reference ever in the movie to that. He just made that up apparently. So you have another Tannhauser's gate in a very prominent sci-fi movie. just out of nowhere. So you have those two. And I just kept finding references to Tanner, Tannhauser, the House of the Tanners. And I'm just like, what's going on here? And it's interesting, too, that when 9/11 and everything that happened around that event occurred, the second portion of the event, which was the anthrax scare. Now, that's something that you'd have to be a tide tanner or a hide tanner to actually come in contact with. Like, it's very specific to hide tanning.
What's interesting about that as well is that see if you go back to that sort of egg shape that we were viewing.
Yeah.
This'll I think this will demystify this tan thing, or this Tanner or Tannhauser. So of course you have the Tannhauser, which is similar to 10, the House of 10, right? Which obviously links with the 10 Sephiroth. But I think it was Mr. Rioso that mentioned, and quite rightly as well, that in the human psyche, Adam Kadmon corresponds to the Yechaida, the collective essence of the soul, quite literally. That itself is being recreated. I'll get to this in a minute. Recreated by, of course, AI and eventually biodigital convergence, the Internet of all things, the Internet, the Lord, controlled by the algorithm, the Lord of all things. Algo, by the way, comes from darkness. It comes from the same root as alchemia. Algo, I believe, also has a relation, a linguistic relation, to a Middle Persian word which means the dark land. Interestingly, almost like Mordor or something. But anyway, the Tannhauser, so the Tanner as well. If you look at the outer rim of that sort of egg shape, and this relates back to the world egg. Effectively, they think of the world. This is why the world is seen as a spherical thing, as the egg. And they are the yolk, or the son of the sun, if you will, the soul R, who is yolk, who is waiting to burst forth this newly created being. And so what it says in the Zohar is at the end of time, come the 7th millennium, and it's just before that. So come the sort of end of the Tikkun Olam, where there will be 1,000 years of peace and prosperity prior to the reset of the heaven and earth. The righteous ones, the Tzaddikim, also known as the Tzaddikim Nistarim, which means quite literally the concealed righteous ones, or the concealed wise ones, like the wise elders, if you will. They will kill the Leviathan, and they will cook and eat its skin. So of course, similar to what a tanner does, right? And to them, this is the idea that they are almost consuming the primordial abyss, consuming that which kept them bound into the world as mortals. Again, like the Pegasus, they're transcending the world as the newly ordained and birthed godmen, and that they are basically, by eating of course this is all metaphor, but by eating the skin of Leviathan, it's almost like them eating the shell of the world egg itself, right? They're consuming the shell of the old world, and thus they are sort of birthing the new through that destruction. And then, of course, you have all of this other idea surrounding, the new hive mind and all of this, the collective essence of the soul, the Adam Kadmon.
Well, it's interesting that we keep getting all this very dark, like I guess you would call it serial killer imagery, where they're now pushing it towards cannibalism and the skinning of, taking someone else's face, kind of in the way Buffalo Bill did back in Silence of the Lambs, but they're just showing everything way more now with everything that they're coming out with on the streaming platforms. It's like they're almost priming people to accept something like literally as dark as what you're talking about.
Yeah, it does appear to be that case. Interestingly as well, Booty just brought up the Tanner 88. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Chris or Regan, but it was I'm looking it up here. It was a mockumentary-style political satire about a fictional U.S. presidential candidate. It blends real-world politics, media spectacle, personal drama.
Actually, I have
I
not
don't
heard of that.
Yeah, I don't know about the Altman-Trudeau connection. If you can mention more about that, Booty, but that's interesting. You do have a lot of these Tanners and Tannhauser. Obviously, it links with Wagner as well, but that Tannhauser concept.
Well, think of a Full House. They're the Tanners.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mr.
And,
Tanner.
Yeah, there was a lot of. I used to live when I was in Burbank. The lot right next to me, which was they stopped filming that a while ago. Even the second, like the sequel that they tried to reboot, they stopped filming, but they left this one lot named the Tanner lot. And that was always where, whenever I would send you guys like footage of like just odd stuff that was in the sky over in that area, that was right underneath where I was filming. And I always thought, I'm like, I don't know, there's no one that should be in this building. Everything's shut down, but there was always activity there. So that's interesting.
Hot spot.
Yeah. Yeah. The House of Tanner, Danny Tanner.
LA's always been a very interesting place to me. I remember telling you about I was looking into the Black Dahlia
Yeah.
case as well, and I mean that house. What's it called? Is it the Franklin House?
Franklin House.
Yeah, it is the Franklin House. It's that weird sort of neo-Mayan temple architecture. It's really, Los Angeles is this sort of glitz and glamorous place, but there's like a dark underside to it, and there's an underbelly to it, and it's this weird contrast. It's always something that's intrigued me and terrified me at the same time. But yeah, it in a way it's similar to this sort of material, I guess. Intrigues me but terrifies me at the same time.
Yeah. No, 100%. What does Mysteriosa say?
Tanning uses urine. Taking the piss.
Yeah. It's that idea that you even see it within Kabbalah. So it's, they essentially eat the world egg. They eat the skin of the Leviathan, right? That which kept them bound to the world. And thus, basically by consuming the old, they can give birth to the new. Obviously, the way they give birth to the new is through, of course, they excrete it, right? They excrete the new world, the new universe. Of course, we're already seeing that within, I guess, the binary forms of their mental excretions, if you will. The world that they are sort of cobbling together through programmatic code. But funnily enough, linking to the Black Dahlia case, that in the final letter of George Hodel, who was the primary suspect of the Black Dahlia case, I think he sent it to his son, if I recall correctly. He mentions that life is excreto. That is a Kabbalistic idea and concept, but one that he clearly wanted to convey within his, his final moments. I think he unalived himself, actually. But interestingly, just on the Pegasus idea, and this is a sort of timeline of American history, right? Which is, of course, world history at this point. And so effectively what you're seeing with American history is ritualized Kabbalistic stepping stones. So, for example, you'll have acts of God, you'll have the goals that are achieved from that symbolic act of God, and then you'll have, of course, the historical event. So I've created a sort of table of these, and I'll just read them out. So the first act of God is to change matter. The goal of that was to achieve ultimate destructive power, which is, of course, these are all powers of God, if you will, right? That you have to exude, you have to convey to thus become God. And then the historical current event that links to is, of course, the nuclear bomb, the Trinity test, the Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Again, these things don't have to have taken place. They just have to be narratively or ritualistically believed to have taken place. The second act of God is to literally kill the gods, right? The goal is to kill a prince, the king, the symbol of divine authority upon earth, right? The divine right of kings and that notion. Historical event, the assassination of JFK. The act of God to create life, to achieve eternal life and consciousness. Creating art, and the historical event of that was to create artificial intelligence, the final step towards technogenesis. What I didn't put in this table, by the way, is actually ascending to the heavens, breaking forth from the shell. That was obviously seen within Apollo. And then you have the turning point ritual to achieve sudden irreversible shift in the system structure. Of course, that was the orchestrated assassination of Charlie Kirk, who was an archetype of freedom and freedom of expression and all of this. That triggered a forced bifurcation, the act of God, the collapse of dualism, to eliminate, the goal of that was to eliminate the myth of controlled duality and consolidate all power. And then you saw the historical event of that in the destruction of the Twin Towers in 2001, the collapse of Boaz and Yakin. And then, of course, we could go on. I mean, you have the crown poison, the coronavirus, the poisoning of the crown or the Keter, the poisoning of the spiritual center of man, the spirituality of man. Man sort of entered the normie state, the grey state, the beige state. And then perhaps as well, we have the simulated descent. This is just assumed, which is the Exercise Pegasus. And I assume that this is, as other people do, other social commentators, they believe that this will be used as a pretext for digital ID. So the goal of this is to trial the machinery of digital control before implementation of the Internet of All Things. And the historical or current event would be, of course, Exercise Pegasus, a ritual rehearsal of health authoritarian fusion, pretext for digital ID, centralized AI state. And if, of course, this Pegasus virus comes to bear upon the world, right? As we saw with Exercise Alice, usually the UK are about, it seems, 4 years behind the actual event. And America typically have, or the world, or the world, America, I mean, America is the hegemon of the world. They'll typically have, like what we saw with Event 201, they'll have that right before. It's almost concurrent programming, right before the event. So we're maybe 4 years away from this, 4 or 5 years away from this, another one of these pandemics, which of course would be about 10 years before, 10 years after, the 2020 event, you know.
Sounds very Mithra-like.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
Silas, do you want me to share a couple of these other screens that you sent me?
Yeah, go for it, man. I mean, this is basically Jacob's ladder. That's what it's showing. You saw the Orphic egg there. The serpent wrapped around it again, Leviathan. It's the same concept wherever you go. What you'll find with all of these mystery religions, as I've stated previously, is that effectively they're all branches from Kabbalah. We know this because all of their symbolism is the same, and the semiotics, the meaning conveyed by their symbol, the symbolism is the same as well. So, yep, yeah. This is the same notion. Do you want to talk on this, Regan?
I mean, I was just going to say, like, a a lot of what you're presenting is like the motion animation of like a majority of the imagery I show all the time. And the point that I try to get behind with that and showing all of those things is that they are all overlapping. They're all the same integrated symbols and signs and meanings. It's kind of like, I don't prefer the reference, but in the Harry Potter world of Hogwarts, right? It's just like saying Slytherin, Hufflepuff, Gryffindor, and the other group, they're all part of Hogwarts, right? So like in reality, all of their symbolism is all the same. Like they're all magicians and wizards and witches and stuff. Like it's really all the same. So like you could do that with the political world, with the religious world, not only within it, but to each other. They are all overlapping principles of the exact same thing. You know? And that's what I think is like, it's great with the animated graphics. I think it's better to actually break it down into each individual frame, which is good. Like with the image you guys see on the screen now, it's kind of doing that in the middle, like doing freeze frames and stuff. But it's all like the same imagery is all I'm getting at. So like whether you're talking about your ancient cultures and like, you know, the whole world's on the back of a tortoise, or you're talking about anything in the new age world, they're still actually bringing that back, right? Like it's coming back around, just like in your fashion world, everything always comes back around, right?
Always comes back around.
Well, and it's like literally, it's what a wheel does. It's what a circle is. No one ever had to invent the wheel. There was already boulders rolling down mountainsides. It was very obvious of what things were and how they work in the physical world upon first observation, regardless of any former knowledge, training, or whatever teachers you had in life. Like, it's not that hard to understand the concept that, you know, how a wheel turns and what's happening. How are the forces acting on it? What's going on? You know, you got some size.
No, absolutely. I totally agree with you. This basically what you're seeing here is what the Kabbalah call the Merkaba. And again, it relates to the Pegasus symbol because, of course, the Pegasus is this beast of burden which carries the chariot of the gods. The reins, of course, being the propaganda, being the worldviews, the false worldviews, the false memories. And of course, the charioteer being that either unseen, hidden hand of the righteous ones, or the wise ones, or the ruling class, just in general, or of course of the demiurge, if you want to look at it that way, or Ahriman. I mean, there's a multiplicity of different names you can give this thing, but it's, you see with them, for example, even within the metaphysical grammar of the system. For example, we live in neighborhoods, right? We have names as soon as we're born. We're now in a managerialized system. Every late stage civilization comes to that style of system, that style of governance, of managerialism. And manager, of course, comes from the Italian word mangiere, which is stable master. So you have all of these different words. It gets even worse, by the way, when you go into Hebrew and even Greek, I think, has multiplicity of these metaphysical grammar terms that relates us back to a horse, you know. So it's I mean, it's no accident. There's also something to mention as well. If you look at, so you have Merkaba mysticism. So again, Maimonides mentioned that they don't want the profane to know about the Merkava, which is basically how they view the cosmic structure, which is basically what you're seeing right now, or the secrets of Genesis, what I just mentioned regarding the idea of us already being gods in our infancy, and we have to emerge as gods by breaking free from the shell. And effectively, breaking free from the shell is us destroying the world. This is why they don't care about when they're setting up data centers. Where are we getting the water from? How, what's going to happen to the world if we strip mine the entire world for lithium and all of these rare earth minerals? They don't care about that. For them, they're already gods. They're living gods upon Earth, and all they have to do is to make that a reality through technology. I mean, it's honestly it's quite insane when you put it like this. But this is ultimately what they believe. If anyone has a different reading of the Zohar or Kabbalistic mythology or Kabbalistic theology, I mean, I'm all ears. I really want to believe something differently. I want somebody to disprove me, but yeah, interestingly as well. I mean, the Pegasus. You have in the Pegasus constellation. You have
Is that
the
Mr.
star.
Balderson? Sorry, I had to say hello to Ben. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was like, I was like, who's Mr. Balderson? How's it going, man? How's it going? Yeah. You have the star Algol, interestingly, which sounds like algorithm. That is meant to mark Medusa's severed head, where Perseus actually emerged from, which is of course why the title of this live stream is called "The Bridle of Binary Blood," because perhaps this is what the Pegasus is. It's also known as the Demon Star, by the way. Interestingly, this Algol, this again, it's all very interesting. I think that's probably what they're pointing to with this Exercise Pegasus. This is what they're playing upon.
Well, how many times have they connected Pegasus to Orion as well? And why do they do this? Can you tell me?
I think it's probably because Orion is linked to Bellerophon. He's the individual who mounted Pegasus. He killed the Chimera, which is this, oh god, what is it? Lion-headed fire demon, basically. And then it's a lion and a goat, and it breathes fire or something like that. And then he takes Pegasus and he rides him into Olympus. So it's the same idea, And Orion again is on this cyclical journey through the river. He's trying to reach heaven. He's the sleeper who's trying to awake. Maybe it's the same thing. What do you think, man?
Reagan.
Or Chris, what do you think?
I mean, Orion would technically be what Osiris, right? Or Osiris, as we say sometimes. But he would also be what's his name? The old god of the Norse with the eye. Why can't I think of the name right now? Balderson's gonna kill me.
Odin.
Yeah, Odin. Yeah. So. But is Odin the one who is... Would Odin necessarily reflect in what you were just saying?
He would in some sense, yeah, because he did he prostrated himself, or he crucified himself, or he hung himself, however it's told, on Yggdrasil for wisdom. There's also something else regarding Balder that I mean that itself is he's an interesting character. I mean, I can't quite recall the Norse mythology. If Balderson knows any more about it, that'd be interesting.
Balderson, you want to get in here? I'll send you a link on if you want to help us out. I'll send you a link on Telegram or Instagram or something. Let's see what he says.
I think it does have this relation to the theme of transcendence, though, It
says Balder's going to be born into Midgard, and Odin whispers a secret to him.
Interesting. Interesting indeed.
Yeah.
There's something else to mention on Pegasus too. Is that so? If we think of Medusa, and this isn't something I've come up with. This is Armin's take, and I was having a discussion with him probably a year back now, but he mentioned that Medusa is this sort of terrifying gorgon, right? Of course, the Greeks would put this gorgon Medusa image on their shield to terrify their enemies, and he said it's almost similar to this sort of the Sanskrit calls it the Agnaya weapon, this terrible weapon. Of course, we know it now as the atomic or nuclear bomb. So from the atomic age, you've got this sort of Pegasus, and of course Israel has the spyware Pegasus. So it's a sort of informational super weapon, which could of course link to AI or artificial super intelligence when it comes about. So that's another super weapon, a wonder weapon. So it's similar. Again, it's reflecting what you're seeing in mythology because Pegasus, I believe, from mythology, was born of Medusa's blood. So it's a similar thing with from the atomic age has been birthed the informational age. From the nuclear weapon has been birthed, of course, AI.
Ben's going to join us, by the way, so maybe you could help us with some of the mythological.
Oh, brilliant!
But all right. So there was another thing regarding. Oh, I thought it was interesting seeing the Blackjack Pegasus connections with the First Cavalry because of the Twilight language book that Michael Hoffman wrote, and him saying 2001 or 2000 to 2021 was the Blackjack gateway year. And Blackjack is also linked to Osiris or Anubis in the Egyptian pantheon because he's the god of the dead, god of dead matter.
Yeah.
So seeing Pegasus linked with Blackjack or Anubis, I don't really even know what to make of that, except it's just like this constant connection of death, rebirth, death, rebirth.
Exactly. Well, it's the like what we mentioned with Pegasus, and even with the Exercise Pegasus, that it's this idea of the archetype of the slain child as well, right? If we understand as within the Gnostic or Kabbalistic sense, we are spiritual children. So thus we, as Kabbalah states, and the Zohar, I think the Sefer Yetzirah mentions this too. I forget now, but there's this term which it states a purgatory via the grave, right? So we have to go through this sort of death and rebirth so that we can purify ourselves, in a sense. It's very demented when you look at it this way. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, actually, funnily enough. But yeah, so it's you even see the same thing in Ezekiel's vision, and it's interesting that the First Cavalry would be brought up too. Again, you have this constant harkening back to horses. Always the horse, you know. It's, I mean, and funnily enough, this is going on a tangent here, but do you remember that recent school shooting by that Robin Westman? He was or she or whatever was the transgender. Oh God, where was it? I think it was in was it Florida somewhere? I forget where now. Anyway, no, Minnesota. It was Minnesota. Anyway, that links with Arcturus, and Arcturus links with Robert Cremo, who was the Parkland shooter. But anyway, that's another whole different tangent. But the final journal entry of this 22-year-old school shooter was the title, "Let's Get This Chariot Moving." Now, what 22-year-old would write, let's get this chariot moving. Firstly, chariots are, what, 1,000, 2,000-year-old technology? Probably more. I mean, it doesn't make sense. You have this
Come on, Silas. All the kids today are doing chariots and riding around jousting in their chainmails.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, they're just they see me rolling, they hating. It's so silly when you look at it, but really the only way to explicate it is this Kabbalistic or esoteric view, you know.
What was the 6-7 thing now?
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. We'll go into the 6-7 thing. So, just recently, Keir Starmer, as we call him, Wankier Starmer, he went to a school, and for some particular reason, again, this may just all be innocuous. He went to a school. He does the 6-7 thing. For some particular reason, and anyway, the all of the kids start doing it, and they make a big thing about the 6-7 thing. But if you look at the 6-7, now it can mean different things. I mean, you have the 67 words within the Balfour Declaration, of course. You have even the 6-7, the gesture could be like the Baphomet. It could be like the scales of Libra, again linking to Pegasus. The 6-7, the gesture. You have the idea of the you know, that idea of the divine horse born of the death, you know, or even the 6th and the 7th millennia as well. So I think we've been joined by Balderson.
Yeah, let me see if I can get his mic right.
As well. So
are you still echoing?
I think we've been joined by Balderson.
Yeah, let me see if I can get his mic right. Are you still echoing?
I think we've been joined by Balderson.
Yeah, let me see if I can get his mic right.
Not working.
Nah. Well, we'll figure it out eventually. I think Ronan might join us, or he might not. I don't know, actually. He said he might, but once he gets back in, we'll try to get that to work. But go on, Silas. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was pretty much finished my point anyway, man. Basically, I think the idea mythologically and symbolically linking back to Exercise Pegasus and this hypothetical respiratory virus from Southeast Asia on the island, I believe, or the island nation of Mycenae. I think basically what it's relating to is that Medusa's the beheaded Medusa or the death of her produces the child born. Even the beheaded Medusa, again, the crown, which is the head. You just had the Corona event as well, right? Could be a link there too. The child is born, Pegasus. He ascends to Olympus. You know, of course, being chariot reined in and controlled by.
I had to get my tech under control.
How's it going, man?
There we go. Here, before you continue, welcome Benjamin Balderson. How you doing?
What's up, Chris?
What's going on, brother? Good to see you, man. Good to see you.
Saw you were live, so I thought I'd come over and show support.
No, glad you came through, and figured I'd extend the invite since you're always kind enough to do the same for me. And I was definitely struggling with some of the mythological comparisons which I know you're awesome with. But
this is one of my areas of extreme interest and has been. I don't necessarily agree with all of this being said. So a lot of it's very good stuff. Some of the comparisons they only last as long as you don't dig deep. Like it's a very surface thing when people make those comparisons. Like you see a lot of people either make Odin or Balder into Jesus Christ. Odin because he hung himself on Yggdrasil, but he didn't die.
Mhm.
Like, he's not resurrected. He didn't die. He survived for 9 days without food or drink, and then reached down and grabbed the runes from the earth, and then fixed himself, and then fixed the situation. He didn't die. Balder does die, but he's not resurrected. So Balder doesn't live off of Asgard. So when you look at the Norse system, it's 9 realms, but specifically there's a density to each of those realms. And like when you look at the stories, like Thor can't go to the upper realms because he's too fat.
Okay.
He's too dense, and he gets told that flat out in some of the stories. And so Thor doesn't go to those realms. Well, Balder is from Midgard. He dies, and upon his death, Odin walks up to him and whispers into his ear a secret. Nobody knows what the secret is. In fact, Odin in another story goes to, and he's trying to get passage into a place, and so he's having this riddle contest with a giant, and he asks a giant what was whispered into Balder's ear on the funeral pyre. Well, of course, only Odin knows this, so the giant couldn't answer it, and Odin won that situation. But in the next cycle after Ragnarok, Balder comes back, and Balder is presumably going to be one of the primary gods. And then there's a couple other gods that did not die in Ragnarok, like Magni and Modi and Vidar and Vali. And so in the new cycle, at some point, they will come together and become a new pantheon of gods at some point, presumably when Balder returns.
Now, in terms of the Pegasus symbolism, what would you compare that to in the Norse sort of pantheon?
Well, Odin does have Sleipnir, and Sleipnir makes it so he can go to all the 9 realms. It's not a winged horse, but it's an 8-legged horse, and that represents when you're looking at the 9 realms, there's 8 paths. So 8 is kind of 9. So because you're standing on one realm, so there's only 8 left for you to travel to. So you got to subtract that 1. So there's 9 realms with 8 paths. So he's an 8-legged horse, has access to all of that. As far as astrologically, Odin's wain is the Dipper, and the Dipper as it swings around Polaris. Because it's you can really very easily, and I haven't heard you guys talk about this at all yet, or what your opinions are on it. But definitely Norse was a polar cosmology. It wasn't solar. I would actually even state that Christian is polar, and the move towards solar was actually a move into a Luciferian time. Because that's a long thing we can get into. I'm not trying to hog up all the time with some fucking monologue, so I apologize.
No, you're good, man. Silas, how would that connect with some of the stuff you were mentioning before?
Well, firstly, regarding the polar and solar idea, funnily enough, in the Old Testament, I was just trying to find the verses there. In the Old Testament, it I believe 2 or 3 times it makes allusions to the bear and to the Pleiades as well, and it also mentions as well. It talks about it as though it's the greatest of all the constellations. And again, if you were to read between the line, the sort of subtext of it, at least from my interpretation, there's also some other things within Kabbalah. It discusses this too. Which again, it's interesting to say the least, considering that all of this supposedly came from a more Middle Eastern or Semitic area, but you see that crossover. They were all looking to this sort of I guess you would call it the way that it moves, it's it's circumpolar, of course. It relates to Polaris. You have this sort of constant chase between Ursa Minor and Ursa Major, which, again, a lot of cultures appear to have related that metaphorically to life and death, to the Ouroboros cycle and all of this too.
The seasonal cycle.
Exactly, bingo. And also as well, there's a connection I remember coming across, and I think it was in a Kabbalistic work as well. It was not an old work, it was sort of a contemporary discussion that was going on, a commentary, if you will. And it discusses Boetes, Arcturus, and also the two constellations either side of them. I think it's Bernicia's Hare, Comes Bernici, and there's another one. But it showed that there was again, they're sort of fixated on the polar constellations, the polar stars. Weirdly enough, something that's I could never quite figure out myself.
So when you look at it, all right, the Polaris is God, or at least the seat of God. Okay, all the other stars dance in a perfect harmony around him all the time, and he never moves. The stars move in a perfect symmetry around him all the time, except for the fallen angels or fallen stars, which are the wandering stars, the ones that don't move in harmony with the system. So those are your archons, your demons, your fallen stars. Okay, now the sun is the worst of these. Now the sun is Lucifer himself, and when the sun comes up, it temporarily through the light blinds you to God. But eventually every day he falls, and then as soon as he falls, God is sitting exactly where he was sitting before all of this happened. Never changes, unchanging. And so all of this cycle is the wandering stars and what they're doing in the interactions, and then the fixed stars are God and his pantheon of actual angels.
That is absolutely brilliant. I've never ever heard of that. That's absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
That makes total sense. So yeah, exactly. They're wandering because they're unchained from the sort of circumpolar cycle. So from these astronomical observations, I guess the priest class, if you will, this ancient primordial priest class would have developed. Or of course, I mean, it could have been multiple priest classes. I mean, it's the same observations we all make. They've developed this sort of I mean, what would you call it? It's a sort of mystery religion surrounding this. This must inform them how they develop their agendas, how they develop their strategies against man, how they look at psychology, how they look at all of these things. I mean, that's absolutely brilliant. I've never even thought of that before. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've never heard the Polaris sun connection like that, and I like that.
Now give me just 1 second, and I'm about to send you something, Chris, that's going to back up what I say. And this is out of the 1560 Geneva Bible, the unadulterated one. I just got to dig through my billion farm pictures.
No problem.
But I have a picture from an original 1560 Geneva Bible, which is the Bible that King James outlawed and had his own Bible made. Jesus. Too many pictures.
Now, while he's doing that, I was going to ask, now they say the North Star switches usually from Polaris sometimes to a secondary star, right?
They say that, but if you ask me, it's absolute hogwash. Like in no way
Mhm.
can they prove that. Can you open that up in Instagram there, Chris, and then pull
Yeah,
that
let
up?
me take a screenshot and then oh no, it won't let me take a screenshot of it.
And then let me see. I've also got the
Here, send me it through Instagram, but through the other way. Like when you do it, I think you go to your bottom right and send it instead of where it's like just a timed picture.
that's I
Unless
don't even know how I say it. I'm so computer fucking illiterate.
unless here, I'm gonna text you my number on there and you could text it to me if you want. That might be easier.
I can't text, Chris.
Oh shit.
Allow replay. There we go. Try that. I had to click something that said allow replay. Yeah, I can't text from my house. It takes me about 45
There we
minutes
go.
to get to phone signal.
That worked. That worked. Cool, cool, cool. Now I'll send this to. Sorry, guys. Let me send this to.
You're really gonna enjoy this when you see it. Like I said, this is the Bible before King James altered the Bible to suit what he wanted, and
Reagan's quite a fan of the Geneva Bible. I think
Who is?
Reagan, he's the other individual in this discussion.
Nice. Yeah, I got lucky and got to see an original. The damn thing was like $7,000, but I got to take pictures.
Oh, brilliant.
Nice.
Here we go.
Yeah, it was complete with all the pictures and everything.
Yeah, all that's gone for sure.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so you can see, and I'm trying to find the I've also got the little chart that tells you what everything is from that Bible. You can see sitting on top of the firmament, it says there's a firmament, and directly centered is the North Star, and there's a man sitting on top of that. And then underneath this is Ezekiel's vision is what this is called. So then there's when you hear about like Ezekiel wheels, those little wheels underneath the angels, those are the Ezekiel wheels.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the angels with the four faces that are holding up the corners. One of the most interesting things about this is that on top of the whole system, you see that cloud looking thing that looks like it's blowing at God. That is called Aquila. And
Eagle. Yeah.
Here it is. Found it.
Or an IKEA.
Yeah, it could be a Kia. It's not something I've ever heard pronounced. Yeah, I sent you the other piece to it.
Okay. Okay.
That gives us tells us what everything in the picture is.
Oh God.
I believe the name as well for these beasts in Hebrew is Chayot, HaKodesh, which is the divine beasts. And Chayot is, it's always intrigued me because it's very similar to chariot. Obviously, it's just like the anglicized version, but the Hebrew is, if you were to anglicize it, is Chayot, which is, it's always interests me. I've always wondered if there's a connection there between the two. Chariot and Chayot.
That very well could be, because these things are what's causing any kind of motion. They're the things holding up things.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can see on top of the firmament, they have the centered man on the throne. And that's not the sun. The sun's mobile around the whole system. It's not sitting there like that. Stationary.
The whirlwind that came out of the north of Aquila or Aquilon, the great cloud, the fire wrapped about it, the brightness about it, the lightness of amber or the pale color, the form of the four beasts, the feet like calves' feet, hands coming out from under their wings, KLM. The faction, or the Fascion, or yeah, sorry, the fashion of the 4 faces of every beast. Their wings joined one to another, their 2 wings which covered their bodies, fire running among the beasts, wheels having every one 4 faces, the rings of the wheels which were full of eyes were firmament like unto crystal, the throne which was set upon the firmament. So basically what it's discussing is that Aquilon or the Aquila, the eagle, could be linked to the phoenix, right?
Right.
And the phoenix idea is this. You see it within ancient Egyptian lore, which is it's like a demarcation of epochs. So it's like the world ages themselves, is it not? And the whirlwind itself, that wind, like what you're saying, it's like the initial spark in a way, right? And it's the whirlwind itself is similar to what we were showing in the beginning. It's like that Jacob's ladder or the toroid or the sort of spiral, the recursiveness of time, the cycles of time, right?
Yeah, you see how it circles the whole system. It like an Ouroboros. It's not just the clouds go all the way around the entire thing on the outside of the living system.
So it's enclosed. That's what it's saying. A closed feedback loop. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bingo. Yeah.
Live in a closed system.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like.
And this would be that plate that they're holding up, just like in the toroidal field where you have that plane. It's the same plane.
Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously that's mirrored on Earth, where you have Midgard, the Middle Earth.
Yeah.
So you have that middle horizontal plane. Yeah. Yeah. And then of course you have the throne as well. It's interesting as well because I was looking up the work of a guy called, well, he's dead now, unfortunately, but one of his, I guess you would call him like his protege or whatever, Martin Fleischmann. He has a YouTube channel, and he does work with things like the toroidal moment and geomagnetism. And what he's found is like a lot of the various symbols. So, for example, the figure of 8, the toroid as well. All of these things can be found in like electromagnetic experimentation, electromagnetic. When you initiate the toroidal moment, he says, which is an electromagnetic phenomenon, you get the yin yang symbol appear on objects. The figure of 8 as well is also, I think he mentioned something about it as the minimal orbital pattern that you have to have for a toroidal moment, and it just so happens to make this figure of 8 this infinite loop. And if you look at a lot of the Ezekiel descriptions and illustrations, that's also what you see. You see the 4 horsemen, the 4 horsemen, the 4 beasts at either side of the throne guarding the throne. So you have that same figure of 8 with the central point being, of course, Yahweh or the God on the throne, or as you say, Benjamin, the Polaris, the thing that never moves, the unchanging one. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, and so if you take the 2 stars, the Polaris and I can't think of the one underneath it. That's where you have 2 magnets and it creates a quadrupole. And the quadrupole then magnetically becomes, those are your 4 figures, your four angels, beasts holding things up is the quadrupole that happens from the 2 magnets. Have you ever seen my Flattoberfest presentation from Las Vegas there, Silas?
I have not, man. Sorry, no.
No, you don't have to apologize.
Let me welcome Ronan to the room. I don't know if you... What's that, brother?
Hey, greetings, everyone. So much love. I don't want to interrupt the legends. Keep on going, and I'll chime in when I can. So, what's up, everyone? How are you?
How's it going, man?
Good.
So I have my own cosmology, I guess, that I've been putting together for a number of years. And what set me off on that is the problems with the way people look at like the chakras or the way the 9 realms are set up. All right. And so what really set me off on this initially was the heart center. Okay. And the heart center is actually then, when you look at it, is you've got a blue side and a red side, similar to what all your pictures are showing. So it's all very spot on. When you look at it, the blue side is your copper bearing side, and the red side is your iron bearing side. So you've got actually 2 planets that are coming down. So it's making diamond shapes that are stacking on top of each other, and the polarity between Mars and Venus is what's creating that heart center, is what's creating that heart pump, that electric magnetic interplay. And so that's what set me off on that. When you look at it, the copper side pulls in hydrogen and pushes away oxygen. The iron side pulls in oxygen and pushes, or pulls in hydrogen and pushes away oxygen, and the copper side does the opposite. So you've got your 2 different blood systems. That's what in the electromagnetics is what's creating a lot of this action. It's pretty common knowledge that your vein and artery system is so fucking huge that the head pressure that it would take to do that with pneumatic or with hydraulics it would blow everything apart. Your whole body would just rupture. So it's something else moving that. And so you look at the interplay of that, and then even like the brain, you come up to the head center, and you've got your 2 spheres, your animal mind and your higher mind. And then those 2, the interplay of them is creating your pineal, your major brain center. So it was coming down into diamonds rather than, and then that center point, that chakra point, the 3 main ones, was actually from 2 side-by-side planets instead of lining up like this, which was really fucking me up. Because why would you have 7 chakras and only in 9 planets? And then on top of that, you had to add Polaris and Pluto. So Polaris is actually a white light, and it's lithium is the metal. And I had to talk to the nephew of Saint Germain.
Oh, interesting.
That information. Yeah.
It's interesting that it's lithium, though. And of course, lithium is found in all of the electric vehicles now. It's found in all of the digital technologies. Sorry to interrupt you, yeah.
Hold on,
no problem.
Silas. Let's not go past the Saint Germain's nephew.
I'm trying to get some images that might go with what we're talking about.
His name's Fortune Saint Germain.
Oh, he goes on a Crow's show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been on Crow I think 18 times now or something.
Yeah. I know you've been on too.
Making the rounds.
Yeah.
Here, let me see. I'm trying to see if Regan just sent me a bunch of images.
Yeah, I've got 100,000 images with everything we just talked about. So, so I try to keep it to my stream because it's gonna take 100 episodes.
Yeah, I'm trying to look through it. Ben, if you have anything else you want to share too, let me know. But Silas, go ahead.
I was going to mention as well. Basically, what you're stating is this: you've got this constant. Well, firstly, the heart organ itself is almost. I mean, even if you look at the heart, and I've seen anatomical dissections of this, right? Obviously, not real hearts, but sort of rubber casts, and if you unfurl the heart, it almost unfurls in a way that is shaped similarly to a vortex, right? And then what you're describing is a double helix, yeah. It's almost like what you're describing is this same double helix structure, but in a sort of energetic format. And so you've got this constant push and pull force going on, this constant conflict and attraction. And you see the same thing within, for example, the four elements. And of course, that links back to perhaps the fours that we see throughout mythology. The four elements, as as they're traditionally seen within, depicted within alchemy. You have, of course, the two male ones, which are fire and air, and then of course the female, earth and water. And then you have other elements as well, or other characteristics of that, which form 8, depending upon I think it's hot, cold, wet, dry. I think that's the other 4. So it's the same idea that you're seeing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the same concept. Yeah. So that forms all of the geometric shapes, which are energetic markers, effectively. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great.
This is the Shushan flower or the La Swath. There's lots of different names for it.
Yeah, in the studio chat, can you pull up the second thing I put, Chris? The first thing, if you want to watch it, Silas. If not, whatever. And the rest of you guys, is my Flattoberfest presentation where I have all this with backgrounds. I had a guy make things for me to show this shit up. I'm really I live off grid. I'm an actual lab alchemist. I don't know fuck all about computers. I just don't.
That's the best way to be, man.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
We could watch them right now, you're saying?
You can go, just a short one. This second one, I think these guys will get.
Hold on, Chris.
Get what I'm saying here.
One second. I got a quick question, Chris. And you asked me this a couple episodes ago on the Ronin Experience. Check out the Ronin Experience, y'all. And Saturday night sometimes, Friday night sometimes. But shameless plug, yeah. But I'm going to ask you, Benjamin, and whoever wants to answer. Chris, you asked me this because obviously, you have the magnetic north, obviously, with your compass, points to that. Everyone's got that. Now, you asked me about magnets, with the basic question, and I'm an infinite plane person with realms above and below. How does that fit with a magnet? Where's the other end of the magnet? I think the other end of the magnet is Polaris.
Yeah.
But what about if you go the other direction?
There's a star below us too that doesn't move.
The Southern Star, Sigma Octanis, I think its name is.
Yeah.
I kind of explained that in the most second grade level way, Chris.
Yeah, I think you did. Yeah, you did.
And I'm glad. So if anyone wants to talk about that, or if that's just a closed case, then that's cool. But I didn't. Yeah, I appreciate that.
No. Then those two are creating the field, and we live on the plane that appears in any toroidal field like that. The stationary plane in between the two forces is where we're living.
So does the pole or a magnetic pole go up? If it's like a layer cake or several pancakes of levels up, above and below, does the whole magnetic quote unquote pole just go all the way through each realm, if I can use the word realm?
After Midgard, which is where we're standing, I like to call it, as an alchemist, I call it the carbon plane. Because this is where all your carbon bodies are, all your the Yggdrasil one. The Flattoberfest one is like a whole long ass presentation that I'm
Gotcha.
This you'll get at least the Tree of Life. I think these guys will actually get what I'm putting down, what I'm throwing down here.
You guys good to start?
Yeah, go ahead,
man.
Okay.
This is Benjamin Balderson, and today we're going to talk about
Can you hear that?
Yggdrasil.
Yeah.
So before we continued on with the rune series and with basically anything else I talk about, we need to talk about Yggdrasil. So this is the filter. This is part of the filter that I put almost everything through. And this is the gift that I was given from Odin. So this right here is your typical tree of life as people see it, represented as Yggdrasil. And here you've got your 9 worlds, and this is one tree. And the thing that, and this is a correct tree, but the thing that Odin reminded me and showed me is that he's 3 minds, that he's 3 trees. So, and this is where we're talking about threefold gods. This is going to apply to any threefold being. And we'll explain how that more of that works later. So, the way that works then is you have a vili tree, and your vili tree is going to be your salt tree, or the masculine side of things. It's going to be your order, your dense mind. It's going to be the ice side, where your emotions, your past. This is going to be your amperage, the push of things. This is your crystal mind. Then you have your Odin mind, which is going to be your etheric mind. This is going to be oil, chaos, feminine. It's going to be the fire side. This is going to be the engineer, where your thoughts come from, where the future sits. This is going to be the voltage. Now, these two are polar opposite things. This is your high masculine, and this is your high masculine, and this is your high feminine. These two are polar opposites. So what we got going on here is they meet. Oops.
Good enough.
I'm gonna go like this. So your one tree sits here, and this is your other tree is gonna come down and overlay on top of it. Actually, we should do that in red so it stands out against the other tree. And overlay on top of it. Now these two are opposing forces. And this is part of why whenever you see like representations of you, like all the old school things where they had a devil on one side and an angel on the other. Throughout history, this side has pretty much been vilified. We can see Vili. This side has been vilified, and they consider this side demonic a lot of times, or evil, or dark. And part of the great work is understanding that these two go together. They're the same thing, and having an understanding of that. And those are things we'll move on to again later. So these two are actually pushing at each other while they're interlocking right here. So they're trying to push apart. The salt is trying to descend. That's your crystal mind, your hard mind. That's going to try and descend. Your oil is going to try and ascend. Just like when a plant or a person dies, if a plant dies out in the field, the first thing that's going to happen is the water and the oil are going to evaporate up out of the plant and ascend. And then the carbon in the cellular material is going to rot away, and then that will release out the salts, and the salts will descend. Okay, so these two are opposing and pushing at each other. So this is where the ego comes into play. This is where the ego comes into play, and why we need this ego right now. Now the ego is going to come over, and it's going to go like this and fill in these lines and lock this whole system together. So the ego is holding these two opposing forces together. So when we look at the ego then is going to be the earth plane. It's going to be a mix of chaos and order. This is your carbon, water, and cellular material. This is going to be a mix of masculine and feminine. It's going to be temperate. This is going to be the contractor. Now, the reason that that's called the contractor as compared to the parts house or the engineer, this is where your power comes from. Your parts, the actual dense.
My bad. Go ahead, Ronan.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in. Reminds me of the Moshe weave or Moses weave. It's like connecting. You know, someone reminded me in the chat. They mentioned the word lattice, and it reminded me of the Moshe weave. And that is basically all these diamonds. If you think about a basket weave, extrapolate all this out to just more. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And then the feminine side is the circles. So this is the masculine side of the tree of life, and then the flower of life or the fruit of life is the circles, or is the fields that form around this.
Okay, let me continue.
Yep.
Up here is where your thoughts come from, the etheric, the pull. So this is the tie that binds them together and creates the interplay between the two currently. That makes him the contractor, because a good idea doesn't do any good without the parts to build it. So this guy is the one that's putting it all together on this plane, the plane that we live on. So this is the ego, the body. This is the present moment, the 0 point, where the negative of the voltage has drawn out the power of the amperage, and it happens on this plane. So this is a representation just of your body. Now, if you look, your typical system is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chakras. And that is actually correct. But this is also, this tree works for alchemy, because we have 3 minds as an alchemist. This mind is your salt mind. Your salt mind has 3 levels. 1, 2, 3. Your oil, and you have 12 cell salts. Each of these 3 levels has 1, 2, 3, 4, making 12. Now, your oil, same thing. You have 3 levels of oil, and each level breaks down into 4 more. Here's your carbon mind, tying them together. And so you're talking your water, carbon, and cellular material here. Cellular material is hard and never ever becomes liquid. When you put that to fire, that turns to gray ash. If we look at this 0 plane, everything below the 0 plane is crystal. Everything above the crystal plane, above the 0 plane is fluid. So this part of the ego is going to be hard. That's going to be on the crystal side. That's not going to turn to gas when heat's given to it. It's going to turn to something solid, which is going to be the ash. Now carbon's going to reside here in the middle. That's why carbon is so damn weird, because it's really kind of both. It can be a solid or a liquid. When you put it to the fire, it evaporates, but it's also a more natural, like hard solid, not like ice or things like that where it turns liquid in your hand, but it still will turn into a vapor. Very odd stuff. That's the mix, the perfect mix of the two. And up here, this is your water. Your water is in a plant. The first thing that evaporates, the first thing that leaves is the ego.
Oh,
Because
Chris,
the water
can you pause
is
it real
clear
quick?
up here on just the fluid side. And the same thing's going to apply.
I forgot it was so long. I didn't mean to make
Oh no,
it
it's cool. And I like I'm really enjoying it, Benjamin. I just want to chime in. This is Chris, and for those this is why I say there's power in the mist. That's where the power is, in the mist, where these two things meet. And I don't think a lot of people grasp like why I say that. I think they just think I'm being silly or trying to be cute. But this is he's articulating in a much better way than I ever could in why I say that. You know, the mystery. You know, it's my story anyway. So yeah.
Good stuff.
Absolutely.
I was
Go
going to
ahead,
mention
Silas.
just really quickly as well. It's I like this metaphor of oil and salt, and even tying in with Odin, Vili, and Ve. And I actually find the Norse Trinity the easiest to understand because, well, obviously Vili is will, Ve is, well, we still use that today, have, and even the VE abbreviation. So it's something it's the possessive thing, and you've linked it to carbon here. And then Odin, of course, is the lord of frenzy, that chaos, as you were mentioning. And interestingly, you see the same thing mirrored with Ymir in a weird way. You see Ymir, Autumbla, and Buri.
Yeah, that was
And,
the primal before
Yeah.
Odin, before the Dumbla is the fire, the pure fire, and God damn it, Ymir is the pure ice, where a Dumbla has to free Ymir in order for life to happen. The two have to collide and meet before life even happens.
Fire and ice.
So in the life that fire and ice, exactly, and that unlocks life. So
Yes.
basically, the Midgard point, similar to our hearts as well, similar to you brought up our mind too, right?
Yep.
So every organ, every single element or component of our body, of the world, is going through this same process of trying to find its equilibrium. And the equilibrium is the Midgard. It's life. Yeah.
Yes.
There's something interesting as well to mention with I don't quite recall it now, but Buri had a wife, did she not? And there's Buri also has a trinity. So
Yep.
everything you're seeing this overlap, the same thing you're showing, this overlap in trinity all the way down.
All the
It's,
way down.
Very interesting.
And at the end of it, like when with a Dumbla, and so you can look at it as a Dumbla as the unstoppable force, pure chaos, and Ymir is the immovable object, pure stability. What happens when the unstoppable force meets the immovable object? Life.
Yeah. Do you know it's funny you mentioned that? Reagan
What have I
asked.
been saying all these years?
We discussed that years and years back because I remember Reagan asked me that, and I answered the same thing. Life. Well, that's synchronistic, man. That's
Nice.
that's weird.
Well, me and you, Ben, have followed very similar paths. We have very similar works.
Yeah, we've all
Different,
obviously
but
all
similar.
got similar paths. Yeah, we've
I
came
can
to the
tell by the
same
way you guys
answer.
were talking, you'd understand what I was throwing down. Usually I get the glass eye.
Oh no, yeah, dude, we can relate.
Just for me to add just real quick. So another thing about I'm just all the various names of Odin, because I like the linguistic breakdown of stuff. One is like Prio, or has a pre, and it means like third or triple, and that is actually, and I shared this with you before, Chris. Britannia actually comes from it's replace the B with a P. It comes from the Britons, which come actually from the east and go kind of west. And I'm talking about so that's kind of the origins of the word Britain. So the old school stuff. So yeah, it means third. It makes sense in a lot of this stuff. Odin's all over the place, and I like looking up his different names in different locations because he seems to turn up in a lot of places, not just Norse. Anyway,
Yeah.
I get a lot of value. I'm sorry to derail you guys. I get a lot of value.
Oh, that was actually perfect because he's got 3 positions and he covers them all. He's highest, most high, and third. So he's 3 minds. That's why Billy and Bay disappear from the story, because at that point they become one being. What he's describing is his high mind, his center mind, and his low mind. And specifically, Odin gives you your thoughts, your higher thought. Billy gives you your walking power, your low animal mind, and Vay gives you your name or your ego.
Oh, Chris, I'm on the scoreboard. That's 1 point for me. That's synchronicity right there.
I was going to ask, so It's interesting to see I think, what is it, the Quran, how it has their Antichrist figure basically represented as someone missing an eye, almost like Odin. Now, why did that happen?
Because you have the Abrahamic religions. That's like you're within a trinity of a grander trinity, if you can see what I mean.
But
Well,
you-
where the problem comes in with that, with dealing with Christians typically, is they don't understand that their version of the All Father, their initial God, has a polarity. So there's something equal to him on the other side. So he's not the all. The all can't have a polarity.
Yeah.
And so they look at everything as a dissension. And it says that right in their works, that everything descends from God.
Yeah.
Well, from the high mind's perspective, everything is descending. From the low mind, everything ascends and everything meets in that middle, which is where you have this battle. The demon side hates the angel side and blah, blah, blah. But you understand that just by the fact that there was a dissension, there has to be a polar opposite now in order for that to even be a possible thought.
Yeah.
And so their God is not the all. Their God is a split of the all. So now when you understand that, now we can understand why there's a trinity to everything with that. Because the all doesn't include this. The all is just everything.
And I feel like this is where a lot of people will mix up Gnosticism and Christianity, and there will be various different interpretations of that, even though I think some of the proto-Gnostic stuff is closer to what you're talking about, as to where the actual ones worshiping the like what would be considered a polarity of the source would be the original, the regular Christians now.
The demiurge. So it's the
It's
the demiurge, and so the demiurge is what, and this is why their story includes the demiurge actually is what built this, because that's the parts house, that's the density. And so all the things belong to the density. It also matches where, like, when they talk about we're clay creatures without life, and so the one God can build everything, but the only other God can animate those things.
Yes.
And so it's just an argument back and forth with that. And then with the Gnostics, it's interesting because they're also against the fallen angels, but they consider the fallen angels as archons. And the way the archons affect you is by whether they're in a negative position or a positive position. So we use Mars as an example. If Mars is in the negative position, everything's very warlike. And through the iron in your blood, you have that. This gets overused a lot in fucking science or whatever, but quantum entanglement, where you're still actually connected to it. So the Gnostics, they actually even used to take drugs that would try to disconnect them from the metals in their body, because they thought that would free them of the archon influence, and they could temporarily at least become similar to what the great work is supposed to do, where you have made a completion of yourself with yourself and it discarded everything outside of that.
There's something interesting as well that I've come across in the Old Testament, and it's two passages, and it seems to indicate exactly what you're saying, Benjamin. So the first one is, I don't know if you want to look them up, Chris, just really quickly.
Please do.
And I included the link for this video in the chat. Also, the link for the Flactober Fest presentation, just in case anyone wants to go back, finish the rest of it.
I'm going to catch that tomorrow. I mean, I think we're pretty much on the same page, Benjamin. And this is superb.
I agree.
Honestly, superb.
And Silas, don't you kind of enjoy? I enjoy watching this vid and then pausing it every few minutes and
I'll leave it up in case we want to go back to it.
Yeah, we'll go back. I just want to see what Benjamin has to say on these verses just really quickly. So it's It's Psalm 82, verse 1. It's basically
For a second, I thought you said Sam, and I was like, "What is he talking about?"
oh yeah. Basically,
Yeah,
it's yeah. So the way it is in Hebrew is it's effectively saying
that didn't work.
Elohim stands in the congregation of the mighty. He judges among the Elohim. So basically, it's this idea of the majestic plural. But God stands in the congregation of the mighty. He judges among the gods. So this indicates that there's, well, it's not quite monotheistic, and then you have if you look up as well, Deuteronomy verses. Deuteronomy 32.
Let me get off
Just
this.
gotta do your reins up.
I know that was a
1599 Geneva's in there, and I think like the Wycliffe is probably the other. decent
Deuteronomy.
one. That's right.
32 it should be, and it's
Yeah.
verses 8 to 9. Yeah, there, where we go. When
So
the
we're
most
going. Jesus, what the hell is that?
when the Most High divided, so basically it actually says in the Hebrew, when the El Elyon, the Most High God, divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to their number. Number of the children of Israel for Yahweh's portion, or the Lord's portion, as his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. It almost is like it's creating this differentiation between the Most High and Yahweh. And it's something that I don't know. Do you have any just really quick comments before we go back to your video?
I think you're spot on with what you're thinking. 100%. It's really fairly clear. And I'm not even, when I'm doing these things, I'm not even being critical of Christianity. I'm just trying to understand it and understand their theology. And 100%, this is what I'm getting out of it also, that they're similar to the way Odin is the All-Father, and then there's a pantheon of beings, the Asir and the Vanir, that are also much more powerful than humans, but not the All-Father. So now we've created levels, and they have levels. They have angels, which aren't humans. If an angel appeared to a human, that would seem a god to us. There's no doubt. Like, can do extraordinary things that we can't imagine, wipe out a whole army with one swipe of its scythe. That's godlike, but it's not their head god.
Yeah, it's the distinction the Gnostics create between the pleroma and the kinoma. So you've got this, the more distant you get from the pleroma, the fullness of all things, the true God, the agnostos theos, the more you're going into the void, going into the. It's interesting as well, because there's some places in the Old Testament it alludes to this, but it gets more graphic when you go into the Kabbalistic works. It's a heck a lot literature and even the Massey Merkava, where it seems to discuss that to reach heaven you must actually descend into either hell, or they usually use the word Tartarus, but basically what they're indicating is the void.
Well, the void is not. That's not the void. Okay, so the void is what created us initially, and it doesn't exist here. So now we've got to take it up to the highest level when we're talking about the void, right? We're talking about when the all itself, which is everything, originally split in order to create polarity so it could understand itself. It separates into material and immaterial. The immaterial at that point is the feminine side, and the material is the masculine side. Well, what we've got here is a -1 and a 1, and they just balance out. Nothing really happens. So at this point, the All-Father splits like the All did before him. And so, and this is gonna blow your mind. This is part of why the feminine always has one name in a lot of theologies, and the masculine is two. And the feminine has two actions. She's the creator and the destroyer. So the masculine is going to split into a fire and an ice. But the fire and the ice are polarized against each other. So they want to push away from each other. And this is where I was talking about in the video where the carbon body is what locks that together in order to, I know you want attention, Fuzzy. In order to lock that system together. Well, what creates the initial action is Gununga Gap. And Gununga Gap is the All Mother. So you have the All Father who splits into Muspelheim and Niflheim. And then the All Mother pulls those two things together that are trying to push apart. Right. And where they collide together, the Vesca Pisces of that is where life happens.
That's interesting because you see with the... I'm even thinking you were saying the male has two and the female is one. It's interesting because you look at, like, for example, Yama in the Sanskrit, who controls the wheel of samsara. Of course, his name means twin. So I believe he also has a twin called is it Yamnaya, and she's this sort of singular river deity, right? So you see perhaps that as well there too, you know, the two and the one. Interesting. I never thought of it like that.
1 second, gentlemen.
And this is also why in alchemy, destruction comes before life. So she has to, where she collided the ice and the fire together, the first thing you had was destruction. It fucked up everything. And then from that is where life forms, where that mix of those two things happen together. So the same thing as an alchemist. If you want life out of the seed, you've got to break the seed and have some destruction. And after the destruction, bloop, out pops the life.
Yeah.
To make it, you must break it.
Yeah.
Where's a good part? Should we just keep going with where we are here, Ben, or is there a spot where you'd want us to? Because I know we're getting on like a little over 2 hours now.
Yeah,
and
you don't gotta keep.
But if there's a spot that you think is really would really connect with what you guys were just talking about, that would be great.
I don't remember this video well enough. I mean, I remember the information in it, but
I've seen the alchemical marriage.
5 or 6 years since I've watched it, or since I made this.
All right, let's finish this present moment section.
So below. So when you're talking about titans or demons or Vanir, anything like that, this is your crystal beings. This is your hard masculine, your dense side. When you're talking about angels or gods or the Asir, no matter how you're looking at that, you're talking about up here, your fluid side. And they do not cross this plane. So the Asir or angels only have this etheric side. Now they are also going to have multiple pieces to them, but they don't access below this plane. So they don't have that physical power, that physical strength, where the beings on this side have just mad amounts of that physical strength, but they don't have such a high thought process, not a fast thought process. Now they have insane amounts of wisdom, but thinking of new ideas and new things. So when, like as a heathen, this is your Thor side, this is your Loki side. Odin put the three together because he's a threefold god. So everything starts out with this layout of these three things, putting them together. As a heathen, Odin gave you your high thinking, your high mind. Vili gave you your walking animal power, and Ve gave you your name, your ego. Now, the great work, or when we do alchemy on a plant, or what Odin did to himself after he activated. Well, first let's start out with Odin activating. So we have 7 chakras. That's your typical thing. And in a plant, and cannabis is an easy one because most people understand that cannabis, the higher components need to be oxycarbonated before they're active. So you've got your 3 levels of oil. Well, you'll notice, or oil, up here, 3 levels of oil. So you'll notice that if this was a cannabis plant, this level of oil would be terpene, this level of oil would be CBD, this level of oil would be THC. Well, your 7 chakras end here. So on this one,
That is because the THC is not active. It needs to be oxycarbonated, which means that there's some carbon mixed into that, and it needs to go through fire in order to get that carbon molecule to drop out, leaving the purity of this oil and making it active. The same applies to all beings. This highest oil is not active. So you only have availability of 7 chakras. Odin activated his all-seeing eye. That's this eye. He activated it and then took it and threw it down the well, because here's where your thought is, here's where your wisdom is. Thought is something that you want to see happen. I would like to build a house. I want it to be like this. I would like myself to be this person in the future. This is the past. This is where the power was of it. This is where it actually is. It's a thing. So he throws his eye down the well, and the oil's job in a plant is to make the salts bioavailable. This side is the voltage. The voltage is the pull. The pull doesn't actually do anything. It calls for the power, the amperage. This is the pull. This is the amperage. So this side opens up this side. When you're talking about a plant, these oils are going to make these salts bioavailable to you. So when you eat the salts actually can do something, and it's not a hard crystal that you can't process. So he threw his eye down the well. That means when he activated and opened this eye, his Godhead, his all-seeing eye, he threw it down the well and opened up his wisdom, his all-knowing eye, his all-powerful eye. Then Odin hung himself on Yggdrasil for 9 days. During that 9 days, what you're doing is this is when you're going through the process of burning out this ego. Odin sacrificed himself to himself. So what he's doing is sacrificing the Ve in order for the Vili and the Odin minds to reach their purity, their epitome. Once this is burnt out, you put these two minds together. And that is what the alchemical marriage is. This is all the great work. So when these oils and these salts get married, they become one. Now, to make this process happen, we have to separate them. So this is Odin hanging himself and separating the two minds and burning out this third mind. Now that these two minds are at their epitome and the carbon, water, and cellular material are burnt out of the equation, these two are naturally going to try and push apart. So we need to marry them together. In a plant, when you take this pure salt, after you've completely cleansed all of this out, and you take this pure oil and you've completely cleansed all of this out, and you put them together under heat, they will lock together. Where before, under fire, this separated and went down, this separated and went up. Now locked together, the two are alchemically married. This mind and this mind are now one mind. And so under fire, they will rise together, and then they will fall together, and they will turn back into a hard solid like it would be here, and turn into a vapor here, more like carbon was before we burned it out. So a very interesting process right there. So
God damn, that was fire right
we
there.
are trying to
that
I was like, hot damn.
Yo. So
Fucking enjoying myself over here.
okay, so now how would this apply if you were to say want to change the genetic makeup of a species to say something like silicone? Would that be possible through what you're talking about here? Basically, if like a transhumanist wanted to take this and actually use this proper alchemy.
Well, where they're having a problem, and actually they made a fucking movie about this with Keanu Reeves, is they see the high mind as just basically being code.
Mm-hmm.
And then your low mind is going to be your hardware that the code has to reside in and operate from. And what they're finding, like this movie was having a problem with, is they could implant it into another body, but it wasn't an actual human body, and it didn't have a soul, and so it would freak out and kill itself immediately.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just off itself. And that's going to be a real problem. And part of why they're doing it with silicone, like when you look at your 12 cellular salts, one of your primary building components of your body is silica.
Mhm.
Like that's absolutely something you're using. That they are mimicking our systems to try and create a system that and like this is one area I 100% disagree with Crow. Like when Crow talks about how smart computers are and how fast they don't touch the human brain. The amount of processing information that you're taking in through every sense that you have, and your including sense of time, your sixth senses, things like that, and that you are processing into your brain and acting accordingly on. Like every time that you're doing one thing and you're dodging out from the side of a chair, and your brain's also telling you what the temperature is, what the air's like, a billion things that you are not consciously thinking. One of the best ways to understand this is I had to go through treatment because I got in trouble for marijuana a lot of years ago, before the legalization happened. And so I had to go to treatment. And in treatment, they teach you, one of the things that they did to people was they flashed images so fast in front of them that they weren't able to consciously recognize what they just saw. And the super interesting thing about that was they had sensors all over their brain. And as soon as the picture of their drug of choice would flash, that part of their brain would pop up. And it would be like, weed?
Mm-hmm.
I want weed. And your brain and your body literally is reacting. You start having heavy cravings and all this. You didn't even consciously recognize that you saw that. So your brain is processing things and reacting to them that you're not thinking about, so heavily. It's so much faster than anything that they can even touch. And I understand where they're coming from with the transhumanism, because then you don't do the great work. This is the part that they're trying to skip.
Apply to every.
You have to die before you die.
Yeah.
But the key about that is even if you complete the great work, you still die in order to get there. Like the whole thing with Gandalf. Gandalf goes through fire with the fireball rod, goes through water, and then comes out the Gandalf the White. Like the dude died. He's like, yeah, I died,
Mm-hmm.
and then when they talk to him, they're like, Gandalf, he's like, I was called that once, because his ego's dead now.
Yeah, he doesn't even really remember as much either, right? His memories kind of that life is gone almost. He has just a slight recollection.
Because all that was attached to your ego, the thing that you experienced in this plane, but that's not necessarily the purity of you.
Mm-hmm.
The purity of you is unaffected by everything in this plane. The thing that you really would do all the time if you had all the means, nobody was watching, all those things, just your true pure desires. This is what we're talking about with alchemy, and this is part of why you can't bring somebody to the great work that's not a trained person. Because an easy example of this is, imagine like if everything that you thought just happened, and say you're driving down the freeway and somebody cuts you off and they're a dick, and you're like, die, fucker, and they die. Like it's all bad. Like, you have got to have extreme control for you to be able to reach that level, and most people don't have that kind of control of themselves. Like you read in fantasy books or like Dune or whatever, like people that they don't get affected by temperature, like they can twitch every single muscle in their body individually. Like they literally know everything about themselves.
Yeah. It's interesting because it seems like that's why this whole transhumanist thing, they're making biosensors like the nearest thing to a natural alkaline substance that would be in your body. So it would almost replace that if it had the chance to, when you were either intaking it or if it's being sprayed on you in some way, because that's how they're getting in people. And this is the stuff me and Emily's here right now in the chat.
Emily.
Which Emily, if you want me to send you a link, let me know. But yeah, it's the same stuff me and Emily have been talking about. But they're replacing all the alkaline stuff with close to natural stuff that they can just more easily keep track of and trace, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's interesting because your body isn't alkaline. I know that's a hard push in the community where everybody's like, like cancer can't grow in alkaline environment. The true fact is neither does anything else. There's like literally in the world, there's like one bacteria that grows in an alkaline environment. Like nothing grows in alkaline. It just doesn't.
Yeah,
It's all in the, and when you look at it, acid, what the difference between acid and alkaline is hydrogen. Because what pH really means is potential of hydrogen. And so acids are hydrogenated and alkalines are not.
Okay.
Yo, I have to go because it's getting late for me.
Go ahead, brother.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, Benjamin, nice to you're crushing so hard when you coming in here, man. So I appreciate what you're sharing, and I learned a lot actually. So yeah, and I'll get out of your guys' way. Keep going. I'll be listening. Silas, you're the man. Regan, you're the man.
Make sure to follow the Ronin Experience at Birddog, BIRDOG 45.
Yeah, Chris is on there. It's the
I usually every Saturday night I usually do a show with Ronin. Sometimes Fridays.
Yeah, so it's the tray, and right now it's just the two of us on the tray. But yeah, man. Anyway, massive love, peace, and harmony, and have a good evening, guys.
Yeah, brother.
Peace, man.
Take it easy.
Good. Yeah, and we probably won't go much longer, but I was going to try to finish this section. Oh, we're in the Kabbalistic tree. Let's finish the Kabbalistic tree section, and then we'll call it. Is that cool, you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
No,
Go for
I
it.
wouldn't have expected. I thought it was like 15 minutes. I didn't remember how long it was.
Well, a lot of this is tying into some of the stuff we were discussing, so it works out. Here, let me play.
And when we're thinking about the way we're put together, we need to understand that this tree that they normally represent, because this is all we have access to, isn't all that there is. And so when we're looking at that, this is more the Kabbalistic tree. We've got to cut out the Godhead. We've got to cut out the Titan root. And then we've got to go ahead and circumcise this bugger and cut that down too. Because they are very etheric, very feminine cosmology. We'll talk about that at another point in time. So this is what they're working with, as opposed to this, which is a full tree. And understanding that even if this isn't available, even if the THC in the cannabis isn't available, that all it takes is a little bit of fire, and all of a sudden that one's active, and this is the truth. So if we lived our entire life, and this is part of where the gifts of Baal comes into this equation. If we lived our entire life without any heat, this would never become active. You would never, ever be able to make this active because that only activates under the fire. Then this never becomes active. And these two, the whole object is to put these together. That's where you're going to get your Jormungandr. Where did I put that? Here's your tree. And when you activate your Godhead and activate your salt mind, and you put them together, the two lock in together, and there you have your snake biting its tail, your Jormungandr, all those things. You've now completed the cycle, and now because of that, because you've taken out this interference, when instead of having a contract or an engineer that has to go to the contractor, to go to the part house, to go back to the contractor, to try and get something to manifest on this plane, the engineer and the parts house are both here at the same time. So it's thought happen, manifestation, all right here. This is where we're talking about instant manifestation, because we've taken out, oh, that's missing on here. Why isn't that on here? Ohms. So the Villian Bay mind electrically, we got voltage, we got amperage, and then we've got ohms. Now, the ohms, when the whole system was being put together, had to be there, or else the whole system was going to fall apart. But now we're turning this into a superconductor by taking this portion out, and these two are coming together, so there's no ohms in any way. We're talking about instant power, a superconductor. This is what you're becoming. There's so many different levels that you can take this and apply this to everywhere, because this is just the way things work. This is the way plants work, all carbon-based life forms, everything. So this is, when I'm talking about things, and I'm talking about the tree of life, this is just how the things work and the movements of things. When I'm talking about a Vanir or a demon, I don't put that evil connotation onto it, because all that is a crystal being, a salt being. And these beings operate in a certain way. And I take that into account. When you're talking about etheric, a seer, angels, whatever you want to call it, you're just talking about oil beings. I'm taking that into account. And neither side is good or evil. Both sides have their own agenda. They're just like any other person. If I met a new person on the street, I wouldn't make the assumption that they're good nor evil, and I would let their actions and my interactions with them determine that. And I would also understand that they have their own agenda. Who doesn't? We all have things that we want to see. That's just common sense. And that's common sense always needs to be applied to everything. And then when you're looking at the tree here, this side's going to be more feminine. This side's going to be more masculine, even though this is the feminine side of things. And then this is going to be more, and then this is going to be more feminine, and this is going to be more masculine. Everything's going to have, this is why you say as above, so below. Because once you break down the whole, the pieces of the whole all still work the same on each level. And so some beings just don't make this level. And there's a whole lot of other different occult meanings. Thank you, grandson. There's a whole lot of other occult meanings that we'll end up getting into later on. Like, this is the past, this is the future, and the future writes the past, and which brings it to manifestation in the present, all kinds of different things. But that's, you've got to have a whole lot of understandings in between here and there. So I think that's.
Now, is this what they're running their cybernetic systems on, basically? Like a lot of these ideas?
I agree with Benjamin, and it's things that I've written in my books and put in my videos, and it's I pretty much have nothing to add, Benjamin. I think you're totally on point. Basically, what you're discussing here is like the lapis philosophorum, the philosopher's stone. I mean, of course, this is it's cross-cultural, isn't it? It's
you describe it as the way of nine.
The
Dante's
way
Inferno.
exactly.
There's many stories with the layers included.
Bingo, yeah, and I think as well. The one thing I would mention and add is that AI and computers, they can perhaps conjure a great idea, but they don't understand the meaning of the great idea. They can't identify it. And that's
they don't access the runes.
It doesn't have the
Exactly.
Midgard.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the Midgard point.
Bingo. Yeah, and that's what they want to get rid of, because that's the unpredictable element in the system. It's the one thing that goes beyond them, and it's the one thing that shows them to be liars, that they're not God, because of course they can't quite control us. Even the way they treat us is almost like it's like what you were saying, Benjamin. They're scared of us waking up to this, so they try and contain us, and they try and corral us. And the way that they treat us is almost like they're you know, it's like you would treat a lion that's caged in a zoo. A zookeeper would treat a lion, you know, treats them with a great degree of trepidation and caution, and doesn't want to piss him off, basically, you know. Yeah.
Well, it's also interesting how they give you the cultural tales of like fire and ice, and they keep those two separate masculine forces separated almost always.
Yep. And you have to choose one side or the other. Do you want to be red or blue? No, I want to be above that. I want to be the best of both. I want to, you know, and that's what the great work is that you aren't picking a side. You're stepping away and then choosing what you want out of it, instead of being caught in a polarity of it. and they don't have access to what we do, because angels entirely exist on one side and demons entirely exist on the other side. You've got both, and each side has its own things that it's capable of doing. And the other side does not have that. When you look even biblically, demons are supposedly the ones that taught us all the things that actually we do with our hands. You look at the story of Solomon, where he got taught metallurgy and got taught how to make all kinds of different things. Got taught about mathematics, all the things that actually function in this place. That wasn't angels passing on that knowledge. They have different knowledge sets, and you had to call specific demons in order to get specific knowledges. And so that is a very earthly thing. That is a very dense thing, and as opposed to the spiritual thoughts that you have. And when you're looking at the way the world works, that's just, it's too many people now live in that etheric mind where they haven't actually, because like when I moved off grid, I had a lot of real high ideas about how things work. Let's take living off of solar for starts, because that's real popular today. I had a top of the line 8 kilowatt, which is giant for solar system, 240 volt. So that way I could run a dryer and shit like that. I had 24 L16 battery or L6 batteries. So it's a giant battery bank. And from when I first moved out, I was like, we lived very frugally, and we got on there and we had burned through our battery bank in like 8 fucking hours. And suddenly you're having to go back and reevaluate, and you've got to get rid of this and this and this. And like right now in my house, the lights are actually, the light is actually just this DeWalt flashlight. And there's another one over there in the corner, but you can see how half the room just went dim. So this DeWalt light is what's doing it. During the day when we're not doing anything, we charge them up. And then I got my computer and the refrigerator on it. That's the entirety of the electricity we use at this point. Every single thing, when I walk into most people's houses, it sounds like a beehive to me. But I had to learn all that shit. And that was some hard ass lessons. And then, you get, like if you've never raised animals, you look at the PETA people, they get all these real great ideas and they have a good heart about it. They want things to be treated nicely and whatnot. But then some of the things that they think, well, it doesn't really work that way. And that's the problem is at the end of the day, your high ideas need to meet reality. And in the middle somewhere, you're going to figure out where you land.
Love it. I love it. Silas and Reagan. Is there anything else you guys got?
I've got nothing else. I'm going to have to head off here. It's
what time is it out there?
5 o'clock in the morning.
Midnight.
So I've done an all-nighter, but I really do appreciate this conversation.
You're
It was
you can pull all-nighters.
yeah.
I didn't mean to take it over, but I was enjoying what you guys.
No,
were
we're
saying.
glad you came on, man.
And which is a rare thing for people to understand what I'm saying.
We'll have to do it again. We definitely like to have you on again, Ben. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Loved it to come chat with you guys. This was fantastic.
Would love
Yeah, it
to
was
come
fun.
over if you do any chats or anything.
Yeah.
Well,
Ben does tell him when you do your shows, Ben. I linked your channels, but I'll do it underneath too.
Yeah, we have my shows every Tuesday at 6 Pacific, which it's 9 o'clock here right now, or 9:13, but 6 Pacific on Tuesdays. And then lately, anyways, I've been occasionally jumping on panels, but they're a crapshoot. Whether it's yes, it is, Emily. We need to get back together. Right?
Yeah, we need Professor Balderson to help us desperately. We're almost done with the second second row of elements. So we got
Nice.
one more.
Reaching a little more stability on those, huh?
Yeah, a little bit.
Fiery elements.
Yeah.
that first row is them things.
Brutal.
That's a wild, chaotic.
It's all
element.
brutal. It's all brutal. But
Yeah, like lithium itself, people don't realize like when this part of the danger with lithium is you can't put it out with water. Lithium actually it's got such a hard pull, it will rip the fucking oxygen out and break apart water and then react, and then the lithium will automatically bond. And the thing is if everybody remembers 9/11, how everybody talked about thermite. Thermite's not actually a substance. Thermite is the name of a reaction, and it's a reaction when oxygen jumps bonds. So you're not only ripping the oxygen out of this element and moving it to this element, that's creating a thermite reaction, and there's almost no putting that shit out, and it just feeding itself as long as it can get more oxygen. Yeah, just all bad.
jeez.
Wild elements.
But yeah, did you share your channels or did you not? I didn't hear. I don't know if I
forgot.
cut you. I don't know if I cut you
Caught
off.
up in lithium. I'm the worst about pimping my own shit. Benjamin Balderson and Deliberating Dog-Faced Dudes. Also, all of our old stuffs, a lot of my shit ends up getting removed. I was one of the big ones in Rockfin that got jacked and lost my channel and everything. But it's alanmarcus.com has all my old stuff on there. But we're on Tuesdays at 6, and
then Ben will be on with me and Emily soon on Emily Moyer's channel at Emily Moyer.
Emily.
Silas, you want to share yours?
Yeah, sure. I'll share it now.
Wait, what'd you say?
One Odyssey as well.
Oh, you're just typing it in? Because you're
the now, like right now.
You may find my
Oh shit, Silas! I have heard you before because I am sub to you.
Oh, right, are you? Oh, great.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
I've heard you talk before, and I was apparently impressed last time also because I'm subbed.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I've made an impression. That's good. You may find my book of interest. It's called Yahweh is Satan, a Genesis of the New Order of the Ages.
It's a good name.
Yeah, I thought so too. But yeah, it goes into a lot of what you state as well. Of course, once I get past the sort of Yahweh bashing, but yeah.
And
I'm an old miss, so believe me, I've done my share. Do not think I haven't.
Of course. Yeah.
Reagan, you have a channel now too, right?
I don't know. There's nothing on it yet, though.
I'm sharing it. I'm still sharing it down below. It's simplified symbolism, right?
Or the other way. I don't know. I keep forgetting.
I think it's simplified symbolism.
Yeah.
I know better than him. All right, there we go. I think we got everyone. I'm gonna
We're a
save
bunch
that.
of Jews. Ha ha! No. I can't speak for everybody, but I'm definitely no Jewish. None of that.
Oh no, yeah, same here. That's
I'm
fun.
me. That's it. I don't do this
Yeah,
identity crap. So,
Yeah. Exactly.
No, but who cares either way?
Well, I would also say I'm not sub-Saharan. I'm
we'll go through that list. Everything that you're not.
yeah, well, I'm just my dad and my daughter went and did that 23andMe even, and they're like, they damn near attached a note that was like, Jesus Christ, did you people ever fuck anything but white people? Hey, did you guys travel? Like, you can leave your area, right?
All right, guys. Well, thank you all for coming on. I appreciate you guys. For real, it was a good chat. We'll definitely have to do it again soon.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
One, everyone.
And thank you, everyone, for watching.
Have a good night.
Good night, guys.